Every club.
Every day.
The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the daily Manchester United here on the Global Sports Podcast Network. It's Wildcard Wednesday, which can only mean one thing. We try to talk about something that's not related to the men's senior team. How lovely is that? At least the current one anyway. Joining me on today's Wildcard Wednesday is, two of our lovely co-hosts. Niall Hannigan joins me. How are you doing, Niall?
Not so bad, Kieran. Thank you.
And Tom Cairns. Tom, welcome along.
Hello, folks, and hopefully we'll get through a lot of detail, maybe on the back of what we had a little bit on Sunday, but more of what could have happened on Sunday had those youngsters off the bench been given a chance.
Absolutely, yeah. It was a bit of a topic yesterday. Niall and I were slightly losing our minds and brains were melting at that point. But we did mention, and I went into a little bit of a rant of why did we only give one player 2 minutes from that bench, considering if this is an injury crisis or an illness crisis, whatever it's going to be called, it's probably more than likely that we're going to be seeing some of these youth players come through the ranks, and more likely the option of why haven't we seen anyone come through yet. So we thought it would be an idea to first have a look at those players that did make the bench. Victor Lindelof, well, we can throw him in as well because he was technically on the bench, but more focus on the youth players that didn't make their appearances, and of course Chido, who did. So I suppose we should start with a player that actually did come off the bench, Chido. I mean, looking at his stats in sort of under 18s and how he's been getting on in the youth ranks this season, looking at some of these years of birth, like date of birth, 29th of November 2007. Oh, God, this is going to be a tough episode, but definitely one of our brighter sparks. Niall, I don't know how much you've seen of him, but especially stats-wise, it's looking good so far.
It is, and I believe he came from the Arsenal Academy, which kind of concerns me as well. It's like, why would they let him go? You know, are they seeing something that we don't see? But yeah, he was definitely the one that kind of jumped off the team sheet when the substitutions kind of came through in terms of who could actually get a bit of game time at the weekend. Happy for him in one way that he made his debut, but you'd like to be in a bit better circumstances, like at least give him a bit more than 3 minutes of added on time. I made a comment yesterday, Kieran, I thought it was hilarious. It was like an under 10 trying to get on the pitch, like he was warming up in front of Amran, I'd say, for about half an hour, running up and down the sideline, and everyone else had kind of given up at this stage, but he was adamant he was going to get on. So like you said, flying in the Premier League too, flying with the underage as well, and look, hopefully there's a bit of promise there as well, and it can't get any worse than what we currently have.
I mean, yeah, Danish youth striker as well, Tom. I don't know if you've seen Chido, but it's one of those cases where we are lacking in attacking strength right now. And it's more of a case of why hasn't he been tried yet at the Premier League level?
Perhaps there just haven't been the right games for him to get his chance. I mean, we've not had too many games where we are looking comfortable on the pitch. You know, there's not been like 3-0s or 4-0s that we are cruising along and then giving these youngsters an opportunity. It's been few and far between for Manchester United, and that's why we haven't seen too many of these academy players being given the opportunity, even for 5 or 10 minutes. That has to change at some point. If it's not going to, when will it ever? In relation to Chido, I've not seen too much of him, but I've looked at his stats of how he did at Arsenal last season, which was very, very impressive at under 18s level. And this season at Manchester United, since he's moved, I think it's 9 goals in 11 appearances within Premier League 2. Which is quite impressive. So I can see why United are throwing him on the bench to begin with, but it's less understandable as to why he's been given the amount of minutes of which he did. United didn't have anything to lose, so I don't know why he wasn't given more of an opportunity to try and showcase what he could have done. He could have come on for Rasmus Højlund.
Yeah, I mean, easily could have, or maybe even Xerxes as well. I mean, if we're talking about, lack of attacking options. I mean, it was said before the game, we have probably 3 attackers right now who could probably play a striker role. You would probably put Garnacho way down at the bottom of the list. You'd probably put him number 4 in that list of 3 because he's more of a winger. Nevertheless, it seems odd that you would play all of your attacking options in the same match at the same time. You're asking for trouble for that one. But a hat-trick in the FA Youth Cup as well, so he's definitely one of those promising strikers. But yeah, no, we might get a common theme here, an unlikely common theme about Arsenal players and Arsenal youth players coming to United, which leads me on to one of our more recent sightings in Aidan Hever. Now, I can't say I've watched a lot of Arsenal youth football. It's not really my style, for obvious reasons. But obviously, United have seen something in Aidan Hever. He's come to the club and he said he wants to continue his development, be the best player he can be. Tom, can he do that in United? I mean, I don't think he wasn't on the bench this time. Oh, he was on the bench this time, and we like Amorim. We know Amorim likes to sub on a substitute centre back at some point in the game, and that didn't happen this time around.
No, it didn't really. But I think his chance will happen. It's just a matter of time. But he has had a bit of a first taste of football, first team football, because he featured for Arsenal in a Carabao Cup game against Preston. Other than that, I don't think he's had any first team football. So, like I say, it's going to be a matter of time before he does eventually get his chance, whether it be off the bench or into the lineup. He probably won't be in the lineup because we've got enough options at the moment for the centre half side of things, because Maguire, De Ligt, Lenny Yoro, and Matsurawi, who's also been playing in that central half role alongside those. So I think if there was an opportunity for Aidan Hever to get some minutes on the pitch, it's going to be off the bench. Maybe in the game against Everton, depending on the circumstances with the match. But I'm confident he'll get his time at some point in the near future.
I'm sure he will. Niall, Aidan Hever. I made the pun of, we've signed heaven, he's come to hell. But hopefully that improves for him later on down the line.
Yeah, I knew you were going to bring that up. I was like, this is the only reason why Kieran's actually bringing him back up again, is just to say another pun. So, I mean, look, God love him. Does that work?
That works.
Does that work?
Yeah. It's thematic. I like it.
Thank you. I was kind of working on that over the last 5 seconds. But yeah, look, Tom's right. It's probably the one area where we do have a good bit of cover. Although, because we are playing with 3 centre halves, there might be an opportunity in the future where we're going to need a bit of cover there. I was kind of weighing it up in my head. Is it better for kind of a young centre half to actually come into a back 3 where he maybe has a bit more protection around him than a back 2? But also, would he have played back 3 football in the academy? Probably not. So it's going to be interesting to see how he kind of adapts to that, and whether he kind of is similar to Yoro in his development, where he seems to be playing on the outside of the middle centre half rather than the middle. So yeah, I'm interested to see how he does get on. I don't think he'll be featuring too much this year, but yeah, as you mentioned, another snatch from the Arsenal academy, which could pay off, or could be an interesting one in a few years' time.
Yeah, roll of the dice, isn't it? See what happens. We'll move on to the goalkeeper who was on the bench, Eli Harrison, who joined United in the summer of 2022, formerly of Stevenage. He was out on loan earlier this season. He moved to Chester in the summer window, made his senior debut against Peterborough Sports, keeping a clean sheet. He since returned to United after 18 appearances for Chester. Was actually on the bench as an unused substitute in the 2-0 defeat against Crystal Palace. Hopefully, Eli, we don't make this a habit whilst you're on the bench. I think it's unlikely now that we'll probably see Eli in goal this season, but you never know. Stranger things have happened.
Yeah, I wouldn't be against it either, to be honest. But I think we're not blessed with great options in that area. I think Bioniq has been good, but also hot and cold at times. And I mean, hopefully we don't have to call upon our third choice goalkeeper. But you never know.
I was going to say, third choice goalkeeper probably falls to Tom Heaton, but we'll see. Tom, obviously, when you're brought back on loan, obviously National League, it's sort of a little bit different when you're going through there. It's probably one of those short-term loans. I think you're allowed something like 11 or 12 of them in a season, so it's probably one of those. But he's come back to the club. Do you realistically see him making an appearance this season?
I think it only depends on the situation with Onana. I think if Onana was to get a suspension or an injury, that's when I think Harrison will be in play for a start. But I don't really see him getting into it anytime soon. I think Onana's played too many games to the point where he is probably United's best option, but it's not a very good one of that. So I think it's going to take some more calamities from Onana for Harrison to be given a chance in goal. Which game will that be? I really don't know. It really could be any, in all honesty. But United know that they have to put all the eggs in the basket on the Europa League anyway. So if there's a chance for him to have a go at it, it's probably going to be in a Premier League game. But I wouldn't put him in net for Everton, but maybe for the next one after that against Ipswich.
Well, let's see what happens to the Denzel Haroun Reserve Team Player of the Year for 2023 and 2024 in Harrison. We'll have a look at some more players that were on the bench, but first, a message from our sponsors.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Your body is unique, and Global Sports Podcast Network has partnered with Bioniq, the world's most personalised supplements. Bioniq provide 100% tailor-made supplements designed to deliver precisely what your body needs at exactly the right levels to optimise your health. No guessing. So click the link in the show notes. Use the code GSPN2025 for 40% off your first month's subscription. Bioniq. Don't settle for off-the-shelf solutions made for just anybody. Get what's right for you right now.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
If you've been a long-time listener of the Daily Manchester United, you'll have heard this name before. Niall's already smiling. He knows who's coming next. Harry Amas. Niall, take it away.
I just don't get it. I feel like I'm missing something that everyone else in United seems to be seeing, but it's such an area of weakness for us the whole season. Obviously, we have the Luke Shaw injuries. We deal with that every season. We've had Malacia coming back miraculously when Amarim was appointed, but has been missing for years. And then we're kind of shoehorning people into those positions, Mazraoui, Dallo, and kind of compounding our issues, because then we go to a back three or a back five, whatever way you look at it, and we don't really have a specialised wing back either. We're trying out lots of different players and shoving them around different positions. And then you have a player in Harry Amas who seems to have unbelievable potential, has played really well in the pre-season matches, has been involved in the senior squad as well from the start of the year. And imagine, is a left-footed left back, that has bound to come into use at some stage. So I would have loved for him to get a run out against Spurs at the weekend, but he should have been playing a lot earlier than that and been given an opportunity. The players that have been getting in front of him, it's not as if has been deserved more than what he's been doing. But I really hope that it does get to the stage where him and Dorgu are kind of actually fighting it out for that position going forward, and we're not just kind of buying in players and having to play them because we've bought them in. Sometimes you have to look internally as well to see what sort of talents you have within the graduate academy and what are coming through, and if they can actually come into first team football. So, it would be very like United to sell Amas and then buy him back for 40 million in a few years' time. So maybe let's just give him a bit of a run out and see what he can do.
It's a very expensive loan deal, isn't it? That's what we call them now. Yeah, it's bizarre, isn't it? I mean, he was in the 2024 pre-season friendlies. Ten Hag was starting him in those friendlies. And obviously the match against Real Betis, we won 3-2. I mean, it doesn't make a lot of sense, Tom, that we have, as Niall said, a left-footed left back who we've been crying out for this whole time, but we've signed one in this window. Seems a bit bizarre he hasn't had a start or even an appearance off the bench so far this season in a competitive game.
Well, this is the issue. Amarim, I don't think, recognised the qualities that he had, because Ten Hag was the one in charge who gave him the opportunity during pre-season, particularly against Betis that you've just mentioned. So I would want to see Harry Amas being given more of an opportunity, but it feels like it's going to be more limited now that Dorgu is in that position. But why was Amas not given that left-back opportunity instead of Diogo Dalot? Because Dalot hadn't shone in that role. So I don't understand why Harry Amas wasn't given the opportunity to play in that left-wing-back role. It just makes zero sense to me. And now I get the impression that in the summer, he's probably going to go out on loan, probably to a championship side. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's not good when you've got a player who, it's almost like you've played them in pre-season, you've given them that steading to sort of say, right, here's your path into the first team, and then that path doesn't happen. Even with the injury crises that we've had over the past 12 months, it still hasn't happened for him. So who knows what he could do. He's been capped at under 17 level by England. He's been heavily involved in the under 18s, the under 21s in the last campaign. He is actually listed on the United website as a senior player. So he is, in and around the senior squad, it would seem. But yeah, the chance hasn't happened for him just yet. But hey ho, it is what it is. Someone who is born at Manchester United through and through, Tyler Fredrickson, 2005. He was born in. The defender is grew up in the south of Manchester. Did start, I should say, every under 18 FA Cup youth game in the run up to the 2021-22 final against Nottingham Forest. He did actually miss the final itself due to illness, but nevertheless was on the handy there. I mean, again, this is a winner at youth level. It really is. And again, we haven't really seen him break through just yet, Tom, have we?
Well, you mentioned Garnacho, who was also in that same side who won the FA Youth Cup against Forest at Old Trafford. I'm a little bit surprised he hasn't even been thrown into the conversation about being on the bench earlier on in the last couple of years, in all honesty. So it feels a bit overdue that his name's been thrown in there now. But I'm hoping at some point in the near future he'll get his time on the pitch, but I don't know which games he's going to be able to get an opportunity at. He's a centre-half as well, and this goes back to what we were saying about options in that centre-half position. I think the amount of opportunities are going to be few and far between for him this season, at least anyway.
And this is someone who, who's come through the ranks at his boyhood club. That's it on the Manchester United website there, Niall. There's the passion. Bring that passion into the club, surely.
Absolutely. And I think you made a good point about he's a winner, because it doesn't really matter what age you are when you're coming into an environment like that. Your confidence is so high and you're used to winning and being around a winning mentality. That rubs off on players. And at the moment, it's such not a toxic atmosphere, but it's just such a fragile atmosphere, I'd say, at the club at the moment, in terms of there's just no confidence at all in the way we're playing. People are kind of second guessing themselves. And I think kind of bringing in a bit of freshness and a few youngsters that are used to winning wouldn't do any harm at all to the squad. Obviously, he's a centre half, and like we've mentioned before, we seem to have plenty of cover in that all of a sudden. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see, maybe, is he kind of Tom may know more than me, but in terms of a ball playing centre half, is this something that he could progress maybe into the midfield in one of those positions, if he's not as kind of physically demanding or imposing as the other centre halves? But I'm sure all these players that are coming through the academy are all technically well able to move around in different positions also.
Yeah, you would think so, wouldn't you? Especially with that new system coming in, you sort of apply that system to the rest of the squad going downwards in terms of youth level. I mean, he's already appeared in 2024-25 in the EFL Trophy, of course. The under-21s team gets to be part of the EFL Trophy. Make of that what you will. But he was involved in that 3-2 win against Barnsley. So, getting that experience as well against professional teams is sort of part and parcel now. But he was also named the B list of the United squad for the Europa League by Erik ten Hag. He was on the bench against Real Sociedad in September, wasn't used. Again, it just feels like some of these players are right on the fringes of breaking through, but for some reason, even with 12 fit senior players, they're still not making it into the side. And it's a concern there. Also, another one on that list is Jack Morehouse, who is another Manchester-born player in the midfield, and has been referred to as a bit of an engine in a midfield as well. He's made 2 appearances for the under-18s last season, but still managed to get onto the goal sheet. And yeah, another one, a midfielder who could, we need an engine in that midfield now. That's something we're clearly lacking. Someone who can run up and down the pitch for 90 minutes. We need that Park Ji-sung back. We really do.
We do, and he has the look of Scott McTominay about him, but we won't mention that. But yeah, I think you're dead right. If you're having 2 players in midfield in a league and in football nowadays where the majority of teams have 3 players, you need absolute animals in those positions in terms of covering as much ground as 3 players would cover, along with obviously being technically sound. And we don't have that at all. Like, every game our midfield is completely ran through. So yeah, a profile like that is exactly what we need.
Yeah, engine in that midfield, Tom. That sounds quite nice. We could do with that right now.
We could, and I don't know whether he's a defensive midfielder or an attacking midfielder, or he's a box-to-box midfielder. But I wouldn't mind seeing him, because we're lacking options now in that defensive midfield role with all the injuries that we've had. I mean, Mainoo's injured right now. Eriksen's not available, and Ugarte recently confirmed that he's unfit. So it may be worth giving him a go alongside Casemiro, because we know how experienced and successful Casemiro has been throughout his career. He can at least offer the odd word or two to him when Morehouse gets his opportunity on the pitch. But, hopefully he'll get his time.
An out of breath word from Casemiro as he's trying to run after the opposition, but a word nonetheless. So.
God, Niall's getting the strays out for Casemiro.
Yeah, I know.
He's in his 30s. He managed to sneak through into the youth academy edition of our episode. What a player Casemiro is. We'll get on to Lindelof, I promise you that. But more on our last three players on the bench after this.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Here at the Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner. With 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing, it's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Final three players on that bench in the Tottenham defeat. Sekou Kone is a Mali youth international who joined in August 2024. The midfielder was a key part of his country's run to a third place finish at the Under-17s World Cup in November 2023. Transfer from Guidars FC in his homeland in Mali. And now he's beginning to sort of settle himself into Manchester United again, born February 2006. Again, I can't get over this. I can't get over 2000 and what are you talking about? But anyway, another midfielder coming through, new to Manchester, new to a system, but again, not really the worst time to be coming into a new system right early in your career. It's not like you've had to change much in the youth system at that point, Tom. Must be a good time to come to this club with that sort of three at the back or five at the back, whatever you want to call it.
Well, yeah, because the club is in dire straits right now, and if there's a time for you to really make a name for yourself, well, this is it. So I'm hoping that we're going to be seeing more of him, considering what he's done over in Mali. But yeah, looking at his midfield role, again, another option to go alongside, probably not Bruno, but unless Bruno's been pushed to the right-hand side, because we know sometimes Bruno can play on the wing a little bit if United are struggling for options there, it might be an opportunity for Kone to be in that number 10 role to at least add a little bit more of an element, which is a little bit more of an option to that particular role.
Absolutely, Niall. New to the club, probably one of our most recent signings of the summer at the least, joining towards the end of the month of August. Again, another midfielder who could potentially, be on the fringes of breaking through in this troubled time.
Yeah, definitely. And I've seen a few clips of him as well, nothing major, but definitely seems like a type of profile that we need in terms of being able to get around the pitch. Good in terms of tackling as well, and does everything kind of simple with the ball and kind of lays it off. So it's exactly what you want. I think as well when clubs kind of, and this might be for, the conversation when we talk about the other academy graduates, but when you kind of buy in a 19-year-old or an 18-year-old for $1 million or odd, that's what he's brought in for, you what's the word? Like a bit biased, but you're going to probably give them a bit more opportunities than what you would for the academy graduate. You kind of want that to actually pay off when you bring someone in and put a bit of a price tag on them. So I can actually see him probably getting opportunities over the next 6 months or so with this United team, maybe towards the back end of this season and especially going into the preseason next year. Seems to be kind of cut out for that mold of the two deep lying midfielders that we have.
Another midfielder, though, much like his father, yes, we get to say this, Tyler Fletcher, who, we'll look over the fact that he started at Manchester City. We'll look past that now. He's at Manchester United now. He's at the right side of Manchester. But he and his brother Jack here at Manchester United developing. But yeah, a lot of midfielders on that bench. It's almost like we were ready for someone to fall over in that midfield, the way we were stacked up there. But Niall, Tyler Fletcher, obviously son of royalty at Manchester United.
Absolutely, and somebody definitely did fall over in that midfield for United at the weekend, but it still wasn't taken off. But yeah, son of royalty. I mean, I don't know how many times Darren Fletcher's been brought up on this podcast, but it's been a lot. Like it's been a lot, and always on the Wildcard Wednesday. So yeah, we're delighted to bring up another Fletcher. And yeah, I mean, yeah, there's not much to say really. I mean, if he had the same mentality as his dad, that's exactly what we need at the moment in terms of actually, putting a bit of effort in around the pitch. And yeah, if you've come through the academies, it's a tough place to get through to get into the first team. So yeah, hopefully we can see a couple of appearances from him as well over the next while.
And we must not get ahead of ourselves because although, he's the son of a United legend, Tom, you sort of have to set the expectations just the same as any other player.
I'd agree. I think we get mixed up with his brother, Jack, because I think it's Jack Fletcher who is the one on the bench for United, not Tyler.
That might be, yes, you're right. Anyway, we can talk about Tyler and Jack. I'm getting confused between the two of them, so let's get confused here. But thank you, Tom.
Okay. An attacking midfielder, which could be what United need at this moment in time, because Sekou, in that number 10 role, hasn't really set the world alight in that position, and neither has he been in the number 9. So United really could do with something in that cam role. But we've got to remember, Mason Mount is out injured, as he has been since he joined United 18 months back. So his time is running out in getting involved in that first team at the moment is Jack, and I just don't know whether it's just going to end up in a similar way to how Robbie Savage's son Charlie did before he went out on loan. Or in fact, he's moved on for United now, hasn't he, Charlie Savage? Trying to remember the club he's playing for. But he's done well, actually, as Charlie Savage. But going on to Jack Fletcher, I think he's probably going to benefit more from going out on loan somewhere. Perhaps maybe somewhere in League One or League Two, just to get some experience in.
That would be, good to have that. Someone who's had plenty of experience. In fact, one of my most exciting youth prospects at the age of 30 years old, 268 appearances for Manchester United, Victor Lindelof, the enigma that I have to say that he's still here. I mean, he is still here. That's what I will have to say about him. He has not had a look in this current system. And again, I don't know whether it's injury concerns or if the fact that the quality is just not there. But this was really one of the first times in a long time I've actually seen him as part of a team sheet here, Tom.
Well, I feel sorry for him in a way, because the fact he's not involved in the system and he's named on the bench amongst all the teenagers, he must have felt like the oldest man on the ground, Lindelof. But he's been around at the club since 2017, so he's been around for long enough to say Lindelof. So I think he'll probably be one of those to be moved on at the end of the season anyway, because he's not getting any first team football. He's probably not going to be in Amorim's system. So he'll be one of those being offloaded, I'd have thought.
I mean, I think back at Victor Lindelof, some of the partnerships he's had, Harry Maguire being one of them, but I'm pretty sure Chris Smalling was one of those partnerships. Correct me if I'm wrong. Would have been towards the end of Smalling's time at the club. But I mean, he's had quite a few partners, and now at the age of 30, Niall, it's I don't know. Will we see Victor Lindelof take to the pitch at this time?
Well, I don't know. Interesting to say partnerships. He was actually partner with Ruben Amorim and Benfica, so that's how old he is. But I'm actually surprised. 30. I thought he was way older than that. But look, I mean, Lindelof's a decent player. It's just not what we need now at the moment. Probably one of those kind of players that you'd want to hang around the academy to maybe go into the coaching badges. Seems to play the game the right way. But in terms of trying to get United back to where we need it to be, I think he's been here for a while. I just can't see him kind of getting back into that 3 at the back that we have currently. But it was good to see him on the bench nonetheless.
Yeah, good to see him. I think the years are catching up to him. I mean, at 30, it seems criminal to say that. It's criminal for Niall to say he's there for the badges. Like, goodness me, no. He's got at least a couple of years ahead of him as a centre-back.
We know what happens when people are there for the badges. Johnny Evans ends up playing a starring role for United, so you never know. Lindelof in that kind of position could be a bit of an option for us.
Give it 6 years, Victor. Your time will come again. For us, though, our time has come to an end on today's Wildcard Wednesday. Thank you for joining us. I'd just like to give a thank you over to Tom and Niall for joining me on today's episode and having a look at those youth academy prospects that were on the bench and only one of them made it. And, well, we'll see where we go from here. Next game is against Everton, and hopefully on tomorrow's episode, we'll have a bit of a crossover. Yes, we have the Lions' Den in the most informed team in England. Well, joint most informed, but that doesn't sound as good. 13 points from the last 5 games. Everton we have to face. Hopefully it should be a good one there. We'll see what we get from the Lions' Den. In the meantime, though, Thank you very much for watching and listening. Don't forget, you can follow us on all the social medias. It's GSPN Man United. We're on Twitter or X, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram, and we're on TikTok, where you can see all of our clips and all of our best bits from all the episodes. We're also, if you want to watch the full episode, on YouTube. It's Global Sports Podcast Network, LTD. Find the Manchester United playlist and watch to your heart's content. You can see all of our lovely faces and see the reactions we had that you can't really see when you listen. But anyway, whatever takes your fancy. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your Wednesday. Try not to think too much about the Everton game, and we'll talk to you soon.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.